We'll seize your house by force if we have to. That's what she screamed on my porch before the sun was even up, like I'd just signed my soul over to her little HOA cult. No questions asked. Picture it, will you? I'm standing there in my boxers with a chipped ceramic coffee mug halfway to my mouth thinking it's just another slow Texas morning, when suddenly my neighbor Elaine's on my steps, hollering, waving a fistful of papers that look more like a bad art project than anything legal, and two other neighbors in inspection squad shirts are hanging back like they're part of some suburban law circus. Yeah, that happened. You ever had your day hijacked like that before breakfast? I didn't move out here for this kind of drama. I bought this century-old farmhouse just 3 days ago precisely because it sits outside any HOA boundary. I'm Derek Reed, building inspector. Yeah, the irony isn't lost on me. That little yellow non-HOA homestead sticker on my crusty old mailbox is supposed to be a big fat keep out sign for people like Elaine Porter, chairwoman of the Willowbrook HOA. But some folks just can't read a room or a mailbox. Here she is at 6:15 in the morning, face red as a beet, jabbing her finger at my door, yelling like she's about to declare eminent domain right there on my wraparound porch. I set my coffee down, pulled out my phone. If she wanted to pretend HOA rules trumped Texas law, I was absolutely going to film this train wreck. Her evidence, and I'm using that word loosely, looked like it came off a home printer, not the courthouse. Meanwhile, the sun's just starting to pierce through those big old oaks, the mist hanging low along the gravel drive, and you can practically feel the whole valley watching, waiting for the next punchline. Then, like a gift from above, a county patrol car rolls up. Deputy Aaron Blake steps out, guys. Seen his share of rural HOA drama, you can tell. He doesn't even blink as Elaine shoves her paperwork in his face. Ma'am, HOAs in Texas have zero seizure authority outside their recorded declarations, he tells her, voice steady, not buying her act. He quotes Penal Code 22.07 about improper threats. And suddenly Elaine's bravado turns to frantic rummaging, looking for some magic document she clearly doesn't have. Her little inspection squad is already starting to edge away. I'm reading straight from my property binder, the one with my title insurance and every document you could want, clear as day. My land's not subject to any HOA. I let my phone record everything, GPS and timestamp and all, because you learn to cover your butt when you've worked in building inspections as long as I have. Technology's beautiful when folks think yelling changes property records. Elaine tries one more round, waving some signatures from the previous owner shouting about bank support, which even by HOA standards is a new one. But Deputy Blake is unfazed, and by the time Elaine storms off flanked by her inspection squad, I've got a crystal clear audio file of her threatening to seize my house, video proof of her waving fake documents, and a deputy's card suggesting I file a complaint. Welcome to the neighborhood, right? I wish I could say that was the end. But 2 days later, Elaine comes back swinging with a whole new strategy, what she calls the Preserve Our Hollow Character Signature Drive. Suddenly, she's going door to door with a clipboard selling a story about outside investors and plunging property values. She starts with Mrs. Henderson at the lane's end, a sweet lady who just last week told me my farmhouse brought back the valley's charm. Now I watch her nod along as Elaine rattles off county projections that sound about as real as a $3 bill. Funny how I went from friendly neighborhood inspector to public enemy number one overnight. But I'm not the only one seeing through it. Tom Bennett, the county land record specialist, a stickler for details, sidles up while I'm pretending to check my mailbox. He's been watching Elaine work her magic and leans in quiet as can be. Those documents aren't county, he mutters, pointing at the forms Elaine's handing out. Wrong letterhead, wrong everything. That gets my attention real fast. We shadow her from a distance. Tom's got notary credentials and an eye for forgeries. At House 4, he gets a good look, fake county preservation commission, non-existent agency, the works. It's not just HOA overreach now, it's outright forgery and felony territory at that. But most folks aren't going to know the difference. By sunset, Elaine's got signatures from half the valley. People I hoped would be my friends now see me as some looming threat to tradition, all because one woman can lie with a straight face and a fake county seal. But Tom's documentation skills, that's my ticket out of this mess. He catalogs everything, fake letters, forged, seals, the whole circus. We spend that night comparing statutes, finding every Texas law Elaine's breaking. Meanwhile, 3 neighbors show up on my porch, clutching that petition, wanting to talk about the situation. They mean well, but they've been sold a bill of goods. Tomorrow, I know will bring more fireworks. And sure enough, Elaine isn't done. When her petition fails to swing the whole valley, she hires muscle. 4 vehicles roll up, blockading my lane like it's a scene from some low-budget Netflix thriller. Out pop 6 people in enforcer crew shirts carrying measuring wheels, orange cones, and more cameras than a real inspection team. They spread out, planting violation signs next to my chicken coop, my garden, even the gravel lane. One guy pretends to discover a hazard he just staged 5 minutes ago. It's almost comical if it wasn't my home on the line. But here's the kicker: my rural mail carrier drives by right in the middle of their little performance. She parks, watches everything from her truck, then tells me later I saw them put those signs down themselves. Got the whole thing on my dash cam. Turns out their evidence is about as fake as Elaine's letterhead. Deputy Blake rolls up again, body cam rolling, and checks their credentials. Turns out these aren't even HOA volunteers, they're paid contractors. Elaine's using HOA funds to hire people to harass a non-member homeowner, which is a whole different level of illegal. The mail carrier's footage, my phone videos, Blake's body cam, all of it goes into the evidence pile. Then, as if that's not enough, my phone blows up. 3 clients call within hours, concerned contractors worried about complaints filed against my inspection license. Elaine or someone working for her is cold calling every construction firm I've worked with, claiming I'm under investigation for safety violations at my own house. Even tried to bribe a builder to switch inspectors, promising future HOA contracts if they'd help run me out of business. That's not just personal. It's commercial bribery and restraint of trade, both serious felonies in Texas. Luckily, most of my clients know me better than that. Henderson Construction, Riverside Builders. They all call me directly, and Jimmy Rodriguez records his whole conversation with Elaine, catching her offering kickbacks in exchange for community loyalty. I send every bit of documentation to the licensing board and the DA's office, while Rebecca, an accountant friend, starts combing through HOA finances. She finds line items for community outreach and consulting that match up with these harassment payments. Turns out Elaine's been raiding the HOA cookie jar for months, paying for legal muscle and compliance patrols with no board approval. And just when I think I've seen it all, Elaine hires a high-priced lawyer, files an emergency restraining order, and spins her fabricated evidence into a safety risk case in front of Judge Williams. Court moves fast on emergency motions, so for a minute it looks like I'm on the ropes, restrained from my own land because of staged photos and polished legal threats. But Rebecca traces the lawyer's payment right back to unauthorized HOA reserve funds, over $12,000 spent without a vote in clear violation of state nonprofit rules. That turns my legal defeat into the smoking gun for a criminal case. Then the media get involved. Channel 7 News starts digging into Elaine's past. And wouldn't you know, it finds a 2018 conviction for nonprofit embezzlement. Same tricks, different county. The reporter Sarah Martinez calls me for comment, suddenly more interested in the fraud than the feud. Once the story airs detailing fake petitions, staged violations, and a history of theft, the neighborhood flips. Folks who signed Elaine's petition show up with apologies and cookies. The DA's office starts a white-collar crime investigation, and other rural communities reach out to Rebecca, worried they've been targeted too. It all comes to a head when Elaine tries to pay me off $25,000 in a manila envelope, right there at a scenic overlooker voice, syrupy sweet. But I'm wearing a wire and the DA's team is listening. She admits everything, using HOA reserves to pay lawyers and enforcers, faking member signatures, even inflating the books to keep banks happy. That single conversation gives prosecutors everything they need. Wire fraud, mail fraud, money laundering, bribery, impersonation, the works. Federal agents show up the next week, launching a racketeering investigation that uncovers $500,000 missing from rural HOAs across 4 counties. Elaine goes down hard. 12 years federal plus restitution fines, a lifetime ban from nonprofit management. Judge Williams vacates the restraining order. My reputation gets an official clean bill of health, and the Valley elects a new honest board. Mrs. Henderson brings me a pecan pie and an invitation to the fall festival, and Tom becomes the Valley's unofficial fraud watchdog. Some mornings I stand on my porch with my coffee watching the mist rise, thinking about everything this fight revealed, not just about HOAs, but about people trust and the thin line between neighborly concern and outright manipulation. The Valley's stronger now, more vigilant, with new bylaws, audits, and a wooden plaque over my mailbox. Protected by Texas property law, fraud reported here. Feels good, honestly. So tell me, if you'd found yourself in my boots, would you have fought back or packed up and run? Ever tangled with a neighbor who thought the law didn't apply to them? Drop your story or your hot take down in the comments. I read every single one. And hey, if you stuck around this long, tap the thanks button, share this with someone who loves a good plot twist, and stick with me, because next time the only thing brewing around here better be coffee. Stay sharp, folks.